please be mindful if there are house members in the room beforehand, white guests are not allowed in common spaces.
Joe Manchin and Liz Cheney? Well, no one likes them either. And with their own parties, they are the most unpopular.
And you don't think that I think to myself, are some of those people going to come and kill me?
Sayonara Whites, says a Berkeley College co-op. Holy cow, Alec Baldwin speaks out. Who the heck wants to hear from him? Putin, one of his closest allies, was a victim of an attempted assassination in which his daughter died. We'll get to that story straight away. And a bunch more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts, wait for it, right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. On today, it is August 22nd, the year of our Lord 2022, and a lot of interesting stuff coming up on this show. And I want to start off with a thing that we probably would leave for the end, but I want to get it on right now because I think it's as ridiculous gets. In other words, I don't know if it gets more ridiculous. There's a co-op at Berkeley University, University of California, Berkeley, that is making some waves for some rules that it put out. Now, I want to make sure we're clear on this. There were a couple of news stories out. I'm sure you've seen this over the last couple of days about that this housing area in Berkeley is banning white students from the common areas. That's actually true. That's actually happening. Apparently, racism is fine as long as it's reversed, I guess, or as long as the people of color are perpetrating it. But I want to read you some of these rules. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I wanted to be clear. This is not a on-campus dorm. This is a off-campus co-op that is private in nature and not part of the university's public housing on campus. Having said that, that doesn't really make it any less ridiculous. A Berkeley co-op states that residents must alert others when they intend to bring white guests into the house. Holy cow. And it kind of goes on from there. This is an article from Fox News from a picture that got sent out on the rules that are being enforced on this particular co-op. Also, if you haven't already, I'm seeing a couple thousand of you watching this. Click the little like button or the little share button, the reaction button. Maybe you think this is hilarious. A lot of people are mad about this. I think it's hilarious and comical, and I'll explain why further. But if you wouldn't mind engaging with the post in any way, shape, or form, what do you think about this current situation going on at the co-op in Berkeley? It really helps us out, continues to keep the ball rolling. Anyways, this is from Fox News. A private housing co-op just off of University of California, Berkeley's campus has banned white visitors in common areas or without consent of the other tenants. The Person of Color themed house is a housing co-op located near Berkeley that aims to provide housing to low-income, first-generation immigrant and marginalized students of color, according to its website. Now, they encompassed a lot of people there. First of all, what is low income? What quantifies as low income? What qualifies as low income? First generation, that's pretty actually articulate, and you can understand what that is. But then they go to marginalized students of color. Does being a person of color in this co-op Berkeley's mind make someone marginalized, or do you have to be marginalized and a student of color? I don't believe that I'm marginalized, but I would be a student of color. Does that mean that I'm allowed in this co-op, or does that mean I'm not allowed in this co-op? It is a private venture and not affiliated with the university. That's what I wanted to make sure that we established, because I think a lot of people are saying a University of California, Berkeley dorm. It is not a dorm. Let's not get caught up on that. In a leaked photo of the house rules for the co-op, tenants are instructed not to bring white guests into the home without permission and keep white guests from the common areas. Many people of color members moved here to be able to avoid white violence and presence. So respect their decision of avoidance if you bring your white guests. Oh, that is a quote from the rules. You'll see. So I'm going to make this bigger for just a quick second. And not all the rules are listed on there, but that's a leaked photo from the rules there in the People of Color Co-op. White people are not entirely banned from the house's premises, but those wishing to bring a white guest into the building must alert the other tenants. So just FYI, I recognize that this is ridiculous and insane. The reason why I'm laughing is because it's unworkable. And also, they're going to get made fun of into oblivion. There are a lot of people that are going to be very upset and very angry. I just don't choose to look at these types of stories in that way, shape, or form. I'd rather look at them as, hey, let's make fun of these people until they stop having bad ideas and implementing them, such as this. This is also a quote from the rules. Guests are allowed in common spaces, but please be mindful that if there are house members in the rooms beforehand, that sentence just stops there. Oh, I don't know why they put a period there. If there are house members in the room beforehand, white guests are not allowed in common spaces, another rule states. Avoid bringing parents/family members that express bigotry. Oh, hold on. If anyone expresses bigotry, you can't bring them in. Who gets to define bigotry and what that is and what that means? The people of color co-op get to, apparently. Queer, black, and indigenous members should not have to avoid common spaces because of homophobic or racist parents/family members. Okay, so here's the thing. Their definition of racism and bigotry is probably out of whack. I would imagine if you bring your, I don't know, dad into the common area of this location, maybe they're going to go on your Instagram, and maybe they're going to go on your dad's Instagram if your dad happens to have an Instagram. Let's use mom instead, just because moms, I feel like, are more likely to have Instagrams. They're going to go on your mom's Instagram account. They're going to scroll to June 2020, and if your mom didn't post a black square, that's bigotry. I should not be subjected to this sort of hate inside the common spaces. Kids these days. Person of color themed house exists to create safe and welcoming spaces for its house members, unless you're white, and build solidarity with communities of color in the Berkeley area and beyond, the house's website states. I don't know. Let's read some comments. I feel like I'll try and read comments. The problem when I try to read comments is I censor these or have to self-censor them or dig through them while I'm talking, which is definitely not the best way to go. Somebody said that this is an entirely black co-op. No, it's a person of color co-op too. I think I would be allowed, unless, of course, they think, what if the person of color is bigoted or racist in their mind? I've been called a white supremacist plenty of times on the internet for wanting lower taxes. How that makes me a white supremacist, I'm not entirely sure, but I've been called it a number of times on the internet. So is this a double reverse? Am I a person of color but can't go in there because of bigotry? I don't have a black square on my Instagram. Apparently now white kids are being racist against themselves. Yeah, no, that's a weird thing too. I don't quite understand how that works. But Susan says blatant racism. Yes, it is. This is just racism, but reversed, which means it's not racist in the minds of the super woke. We'll continue to read some comments here because I think this is fascinating. Obviously, this is not going to be a thing that's sustainable. Generally what happens with these, and the reasons why I think this is funny, the woke tend to out-woke themselves. I would imagine what's going to happen inevitably with this is the rules are going to be so convoluted and difficult to follow that everyone's going to get frustrated. And then the, generally speaking, white liberals that have organized these sorts of things in the most cases are going to tell the black students who aren't following the rules that they're wrong, therefore triple reversing the racism, I guess? I don't even know what to call this. All right, this is a funny comment. Jacob says, laughs in white people. That's funny. That's a funny comment. Veda says it's ridiculous and discriminatory. Correct. Oh, somebody says that they. So here's a question that I had. I was very curious about this. What happens if you don't know the race of a person? What if, let's just say, somebody walks in with sunglasses and a mask on? Because there was a video of this. It was boring. That's why I didn't bring it to you. Is some girl wandering around the house, double masked. So what if they walk in with, I don't know, a hoodie on, sunglasses? That's kind of the norm in Berkeley. It's sunny but cold. They also have their masks on, but you can see that their skin is white. Do you yell at them immediately? Because what if they're Asian? I don't know. Again, bottom line here is I think these are funny because there's no way to implement them in a reasonable fashion, and it's also because it is actual racism. Anyways, we'll continue to read some of the comments here, but I wanted to get to this because actually this is freaking important and also kind of crazy. So Saturday night with the time change, I don't know if it was yesterday or technically like 36 hours ago, one of Putin's biggest allies, this guy named Alexander Dugin or Duggan, I don't know the pronunciation there. His daughter was blown up in a car in what looks like an assassination attempt on the Putin ally. So this guy, Alexander Dugin, if you haven't heard about him, is kind of one of Putin's biggest allies. He is said to be Putin's thought leader. He's a political philosopher, big time, like pro-Russia, we should take over the entirety of Europe and restore what is rightfully ours type of guy. According to a lot of big people who are very familiar with this situation, he's the guy who has been very encouraging of Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. Anyways, this guy's daughter got blown up in a car over the weekend and died, obviously. I'm just going to play this video. This is a video. This is it's kind of fascinating video. This is a video. This is the guy. He's standing right here, and his car is obviously in flames. It was his car that his daughter got into and exploded. He's just there kind of in shock and probably obviously so. And yeah, this is just a quick video clip. If you're listening to this, sorry, it's going to be blank air for 20 seconds. Watch this. So that thing exploded. Oops, sorry. I should have cut that out there. That's the guy right here in the green shirt. His daughter got blown up in a car that probably was meant for him. Mike Lyons, news analyst, former military, was on CNN talking about what he thought it was with the limited information we have. And I bring that up. Mike Lyons has been on the show a couple times, one or two times. Anyways, friend of the show, Mike Lyons on CNN, kind of talking about what he thinks is going on here with one of Putin's closest allies' daughter getting blown up. Check this out.
Yeah, my take, this is a botched assassination attempt. If it was done by Russian insider to try to take him out, the Russian state would have done a lot better job, would have made sure that they had that target. If Ukraine is involved, hard to think that that's the case, that they have people that far inside of Russia to do something like this. Car bomb, old school assassination attempt. Clearly, if he's the target, she gets in the wrong car. We know that those are facts. And he really was not a Kremlin insider. But again, there could be organized crime, lots of things happening in Russia. Now, Russia state might use this for their own propaganda against Ukraine. That's likely what they'll do with this. But this is really, again, a botched assassination attempt using, old school methods to try to get something done.
And that's the real question. What happens now? Because it's not known who did this. And the Ukrainians, of course, deny any connection to it whatsoever. But we're already seeing, we just saw a post right now a few seconds ago, Russian media personalities are calling on Russia to respond to this by bombing Kyiv. So where do you see this going next?
Yeah, they could use that as an excuse to do that, this classic false flag for something that happens inside of Russia. But again, so far inside the country, I just find it hard to believe that Ukraine had anything to do with it. There's not much more that can come out of this, but Russia will do it what it can from a leverage perspective.
Yeah, they're already using it to their advantage right now. We'll see what that looks like going forward.
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. I hate to use the word interesting because it is interesting, but obviously not in a good way. So Putin's ally, as Mike Lyons thought, was probably, it was a botched attempted assassination attempt on him, ended up killing his daughter. Russian state media, though, called Sunday for attacks on Ukrainian government buildings after the death of a prominent Putin ally in the car bombing outside of Moscow. A Russian investigation committee said the explosion ripped through the Toyota Land Cruiser driven by Daria Dugina, 29, a conservative commentator. See, I should have taken that. I don't like labels. I have said this a million times on this show. So just a political commentator on Saturday night. If they would have said a leftist commentator, would have said the same thing. On Saturday night, RT reported that the vehicle belongs to her father, a well-known Russian nationalist, Alexander Dugin, often called Putin's brain, giving rise to suspicion on the intent if he was the intended target. Bottom line is Russia could possibly be using this to go justify attacks on Kyiv in Ukraine. Now, they also could have done this themselves, as the Russian government thought, well, maybe if we assassinate the daughter of this guy, assuming that he wasn't actually the target, then knowing that she would drive his car, use that to then justify more attacks on Kyiv and Ukraine. It also very much could have, we don't know, could have been Ukraine attacking Russia, which would cause them to react a certain way as well. Or it could have been a mob boss hit. Who knows what's going on here, but it's going to cause more turmoil in Russia, and especially they'll probably lash out against Ukraine. So that is that. If anything else comes out about that, we will bring it to you. Oh, just so you know, too, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky denied Ukrainian involvement. We are not a criminal state, unlike Russia, he says. Let me see. Government employees in the capital were urged to work remotely this week amid concerns that the buildings would be targeted for attack. Also, Ukraine, not related to this story, has banned a bunch of, not banned, but they said, hey, we're going to call off Independence Day parades because they thought that those might be attacked by Russia in the next coming days/weeks. So yeah, there's that. That's craziness. Anything new happens out of that, the next couple of days, we'll bring it to you. I wanted to get to this before we get to breaking Alec Baldwin news, which is a thing that I never thought I would say on a quasi-news culture talk show. I want to get to this. This is Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. I like, obviously I probably disagree with a lot of stuff on Chuck Todd's show, but he does some pretty interesting polling over there at Meet the Press. I wanted to play some of this. This is Americans, whether or not they think we're on the right track, wrong track. Also, if you haven't already, click the little like button, the little share button down over here, or the react button. I don't know if you think this is hilarious. Maybe this makes you sad. Maybe this is a dismal time for the American people and you feel sad about it. Just react and, I don't know, engage with the show in any way, shape, or form. It really helps us out, helps us continue to do what we're doing. Check this out from Chuck Todd, Meet the Press over the weekend. Watch this.
And a good Sunday morning to all of you. We are less than 3 months before the midterms, and our brand new NBC News poll paints a pretty bleak picture. Americans are angry, they're disappointed, and they are worried about the future of this country. Just 21% of adults say we are heading in the right direction, and once again, 3 out of 4 Americans say we are on the wrong track. In fact, this number, never before in our poll, has this wrong track number been over 70% for this long. It's been nearly a year now. 58%, by the way, say America's best years are behind us. That's an all-time high in our poll.
Yikes. So 70%. Oops. Oh, shoot, I forgot to pause it. This is actually kind of an interesting clip we'll play next. So for over a year, almost a year, over a year, the majority of the country said that they were going to, or they think the United States is on the wrong track. So there's that. And I think the biggest component there is, well, one, nobody can really deny that it's on the wrong track. But we've been saying this for about a year now. I think this probably just thinking about in time, we're right at the time a year ago where the Biden administration was exiting Afghanistan in the tumultuous way that they did. But the longevity of the high percentage of Americans thinking that we're on the wrong track is interesting. Now, I wanted to play this other clip from Meet the Press. Chuck Todd asked a Republican congressman what they're going to do about inflation. Now, I wanted to bring this on because while I disagree with the Biden policies to implement them, Chuck Todd asked, what are Republicans doing proactively to stop inflation? The answer to that is you can't really do much. The Fed can jack up interest rates as high as they can, and there really isn't much to do. So there really isn't a Republican solution. And a lot of people on the left are pulling this clip out and saying, yeah, they don't have a plan either, which is true. There is really no Republican plan to stop inflation. Unfortunately, inflation is just going to do what it's going to do until the Fed jacks up the interest rates and we stop spending money. Now, that's not to say that the Biden administration hasn't made it worse, because they have in a lot of different ways. The massive trillions of dollars of spending that we've done since Joe Biden has come in office has not made anything any better. So I understand why Republicans would oppose new spending. But at the same time, when Chuck Todd asked this question that you're about to see, I just kind of explained the whole thing. What are you guys going to do proactively? You understand why the Republican congressman doesn't really answer the question at all. Check this out. I'm not sure if we're going to play the entire thing, but this is just kind of interesting in how the politics is playing out around inflation.
Ask you this. What is your plan to deal with inflation? What is the Republican plan to deal with inflation other than not supporting Joe Biden policies? And I say that because what is the proactive agenda here?
Well, we have a positive agenda. We have a commitment to America, and we're going to get back to basics. Republicans are going to win landslide elections, not just because Joe Biden has done such a poor job and congressional Democrats have failed the American people on the economy, crime, and the border, but because we have a positive agenda to secure the border, to get back to basics, to stop the flow of drugs into our communities.
Okay, dude, but he asked you about inflation. This goes on for probably another minute of him kind of just rambling about the Republican platform, which is fine. But the bottom line here, and I feel like everybody should recognize this, is there's really no good way to stop inflation. It's going to take the Fed raising interest rates. It's going to take people being scared to death to spend any money to tamp inflation down. Because when new money is being created, inflation goes up. This is just simple economic principles. And there's really not a ton that the Republicans, when they take back the House, can do. And there's really not a ton that Democrats can do either, except for stop making it worse by spending more money, which is what I've been complaining about for the last several months. So there's that, which I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. And that's something that the lefty sides are playing. Well, look at this Republican congressman who's not saying anything, which he didn't. He didn't say anything that was going to actually stop inflation. But the caveat being that ain't nothing going to stop inflation other than stopping spending from the Fed. Sorry. I mean, the interest rate from the Fed, interest rate going up and stopping spending government money. Karen says, we're going to need more money not being printed. We're trillions of dollars in debt. Yeah, absolutely. Non sequitur totally brings me to this. Alec Baldwin did an interview with CNN, which, by the way, I'm reading comments, but trying to also talk about Alec Baldwin. Gabriel, who's a big fan of the show, I think watches every day, said, but Republicans don't have any power or control right now, so that's a stupid question. So the question was posed, just to make sure we're being fair here, the question was posed by Chuck Todd, hey, when you guys take the House back, what is your plan? What's your specific plan to stop inflation? And that was his answer. Obviously, Republicans, you're right, don't have control. But pretty much everybody agrees the Republicans are going to take back at least the House, and it was probably the Senate, but that's kind of a toss-up now, too, because of some of the candidates that Republicans have put up in certain states. Yeah, they don't have power now, but they will soon, and we'll see if they'll be able to do anything with it. Anyways, Alec Baldwin was on CNN giving the interview, which, first of all, why does anybody care about what Alec Baldwin has to say? But it was kind of interesting and maybe shows that this dude is delusional. Watch this clip and we'll kind of discuss at the end of it. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this, again, this Alec Baldwin interview clip.
President of the United States said he probably shot her on purpose. To me, was really the only time I thought that I was worried about what was going to happen. Because here was Trump, who instructed people to commit acts of violence, and he was pointing the finger at me and saying I was responsible for the death. 1,000% I'm nervous that a bunch of people who were instructed by the former president to go to the Capitol, and they killed a law enforcement officer. They killed somebody. And you don't think that I think to myself, are some of those people going to come and kill me?
While waiting for the results of the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office investigation, Baldwin says he hired his own investigator.
That private investigator, as you probably know, did not have a difficult time accessing the staff of the Sheriff's Department. And that person told us, quote unquote, we've known in the department since January that Alec would not be charged with a crime.
A sentiment echoed by his attorney.
Do you think that there is a possibility, though, that he could face charges at all?
It would be a huge miscarriage of justice.
Okay, so they're obviously, what they're trying to do there is make it so that the public or the media thinks it's absurd if Alec Baldwin, how could they ever charge him? So that when they do charge him, they can get public support. Maybe, but I don't even think they're doing a very good job at that. But what I thought was really interesting in that clip is Alec Baldwin said that he thought Trump, the president of the United States, might tell people to go attack him. What I would say to that is, dude, you ain't that important. Even if that were a thing that the president of the United States would do, wouldn't probably be to an actor who was in a tough situation. I feel like, I don't know. Who knows where Alec Baldwin's brain is nowadays? Because, yeah. Oh, also, yeah. Sorry, there was another. So there was another thing that he said there. That he said Donald Trump made people go to the Capitol and they killed someone. That's just not true. People talk about and I don't have all the, I forget all of the particulars. The Brian Sicknick, I think the guy's name was, the Capitol police officer that ended up passing away from a stroke, I think 2 days after the Capitol riot. I don't know what Alec thinks happened, but that's just not accurate. So there's that. But I thought the bottom line and the funny thing was is that for some reason he thought he was important enough for people to come after him. So there's that. Anyways, that's going to do it for us today. Kind of a tumultuous day here at the Daily Caller Live. A lot of stuff going on. So this is kind of interesting. The Biden administration hasn't had a press conference, I believe, since August 9th. Joe Biden has been away from cameras for a long time, which is weird because generally speaking, if you pass a big winning legislation, I don't believe it's a win, but they do. You're out on all of the cable news shows, all of the evening news shows, all of the weekend news shows bragging about it. But he did not do any of those this week. So that probably goes to show you that he's not really capable of doing it. But nevertheless, we'll keep an eye on the White House if they do a press conference in the next couple days. But yeah, I think it's, 13 days since the White House has done a presser. Kind of interesting. So let's see. We will be back here tomorrow. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media platforms. Just type in JOBOB pretty much anywhere. You'll be able to find me. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Getter, all of them. A lot of people send me a lot of interesting things. I actually got an Instagram message that we're talking about the Berkeley co-op thing. So yeah, I do read them. And yeah, if you send me something interesting, maybe we'll get it on the show. That's going to do it for us today. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. I'll be on Newsmax, 6:45 Pacific time, 9:45 Eastern time on Prime News, I believe, with Jen Pellegrino. Catch me there. If not, we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. God bless America.